Welcome to Kidney Health Interview. I'm your host, Natalia Karpenko. Each week, I interview a guest who is a kidney patient, their family member, organ donor, or healthcare professional. Our goal to empower every kidney patient with the support and education. Join our podcast.
Hi everyone, this is Natalia with RenalMate, and today I'm so thrilled to have the podcast with Willson and he's a co-host at Kidney Interview podcast, and also he has so many great accomplishments that today we'll be covering. Hi Willson, how are you doing?
Doing all right. How you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm so proud of you and all your recent accomplishments. So let's just get everything in order to make our audience aware who you are, what do you do, and your relation to the, kidney disease, as well as some of the amazing achievements you've been accomplishing through the last couple of years.
Yeah, Willson aka Renal Warrior. Been battling this disease for the past few years, almost exactly a little bit more than 3 years. Was diagnosed in June of 2016. We're in almost September of 2019, so almost 3 years, or a little bit past 3 years. And pretty much have been dedicating my life the past few years to fighting kidney disease in the realm of just competing in sports and trying to be active and made a full transformation. And I guess we could enter into the titles over the last couple of weeks. I could enter in now triathlete. So, and dialysis patient triathlete. So
yeah, congrats. I mean, that's incredible accomplishment for any athlete to be called triathlete. And just for ESMD patient who overcame so many barriers in care, in building strength, it's amazing. So how did you start? Have you been always doing some kind of sports? How did this idea even occur to competing in such an athletic Olympic level activity?
Oh wow, it really all started with a 10 feet walk. After my diagnosis, a few months later I started dialysis. And long story short, by the time I started dialysis, at the time I crashed into dialysis, meaning that I didn't really know what was going on. And all of a sudden I go see the doctor and they're like, boom, you got to start dialysis right away. And at the time it was such a traumatic event. I was in the hospital and nursing home 6-7 weeks, got to the point where I couldn't walk. They discharged me in a wheelchair going home. And at the time I was 315 pounds. And I couldn't walk, muscles atrophied, and pretty much doctor said that dialysis was my only option. The only other way out of this was transplant, and if I needed to lose about 100 pounds in order to qualify for transplant. At the time, I was blaming everybody. I couldn't even walk. How could you expect me to exercise, lose any weight, or anything like that? It was a rough time, but once the decision was made to fight this thing, I remember specifically getting up off the wheelchair that day, painful as heck, but just walking from the wheelchair to the front door, which is about 10 feet. And after making that decision to fight, after taking that 10 feet walk, I never looked back. And it's led all the way up to the triathlon just a week ago. And this has been 3 years. So that's the story in a nutshell. But, so many things obviously has happened in between. Just the full transformation of weight loss. Every year that we've been doing this, we've been trying to do something just a little bit dramatic in hopes to get more awareness to kidney disease and hopefully inspire other patients to let them know that, look, we may have this disease, we may be on dialysis, but that shouldn't stop us from living our lives. The first event that happened with myself or Renal Warrior was on dialysis, couldn't walk, but the weight came off, through hard, no magic tricks, no surgery or anything like that. I tell everybody I don't have anything special. I didn't do anything special. All I did was just hard work of dieting and exercise. And it's a lifestyle change. So the first year that it happened, all I did was focus in on diet and exercise and just try to better myself every week. Once that occurred, you're looking at a lot of the weight that came off the first year. I spent 24 hours a day just breathing, living, breathing, dieting, and working out or walking, just doing whatever I can. And we looked at, once the transformation was made and I was able to get stronger, last year you were there for that. It was the Warrior Ride, you know, riding from, taking a bike and riding it from Northern California all the way down to Southern California. 550 miles, 24,000 feet of climbing. A lot of people said it couldn't be done. Doctors didn't think that it could be done, especially as a dialysis patient with all the restrictions. But, you know, we proved again that was probably a little slower than normal, but it still did it. And this year we were looking to do something as well. And that's where originally the triathlon was supposed to be a relay. You know, it's a mile swim, 25-mile bike ride, and a 6-mile run. And initially I said, okay, I could do the bike ride, no problem. We did the bike ride last year, so we could do this bike ride. I told my trainer, why don't you do the run and I'll grab somebody to do the swim. So that's how the conversation started. This was back in February or March. And my trainer said, sure, I'll train you for it and I'll do it with you, but we got to do the whole thing. I was like,
so he was the one put more pressure on you because
yeah, I was like,
that you can dare.
You know, to be honest with you, I almost cheated because I knew I could do the bike ride. I just did the Warrior Ride not too long ago. So I said, okay, I can do this bike ride. That shouldn't be a problem. But then he's like, but you could already do that. We all know that you can do that. And you know that you can do that. That's why we're going to do the whole thing. I go, what about half? There's something called a sprint distance, which is half the distance of everything, half a mile swim, a 12-mile bike ride, and a 3-mile run. He's like, nope, we are going to do the full one, which is the Olympic distance. And once we made that commitment, we started training for it. And so that was back in March or April or so. And I had to learn how to swim. I didn't know how to swim. I knew how to bike. I knew how to run. But I had to learn how to swim. So started hopping in the water and started learning how to swim. And it was rough. It was rough. It was tough. But here we are. Made it through it. You know, it was the only goal was just to cross that finish line. That was it. Only thing, cross the finish line. That's all we wanted to do.
Right. I just really want to pay attention. Being a little bit more than 3 years on dialysis, every year you have a greatest accomplishment, something that was incredibly challenging and impossible to imagine you can do, you were able to accomplish. And how did it feel like having that right now reflection by, losing weight, doing the bike ride from Northern California to Southern California, and then doing the triathlon Olympic distance? How does the reflection right now of those days when you were just on dialysis?
How I feel about it, I'm very proud. It's not only an accomplishment, like a personal accomplishment, but one of the proudest things about this was all the support that we've had also. One of the main points of the triathlon was to raise awareness to kidney disease and transplantation to the general mainstream public, to let them know to let them know about kidney disease. And we were out there representing Renal Warrior. We had a whole team that was competing in this, and you're looking at probably the first triathlon team. There was maybe about 10 teams, I believe, that competed there. There was about 1,000 people, I believe, total competition. There was about 10 teams, and Renal Warrior was a team. And I think we were probably the only team that has had nobody on the team ever completed a triathlon. We had a team competing. A lot of it was also just, to raise awareness to kidney disease transplantation. But also I was joined by a few other people, a couple of my really close friends, or a few of my really close friends. They partaked in it. But what was also really important was there was two other patients, Luis Terrazas down in Phoenix and Matt Reese over in Sacramento. Both are post-transplant patients. One of them have just received their transplant 8 months ago. And so it was very important to all three of us to go out there and represent not only Renal Warrior, but kidney disease as a whole, and I'm on dialysis. So what we're letting the mainstream public know is that, hey, look, we have kidney disease, we have adversities that we fought through. Whereas that the other thing what you're looking at is, I'm on dialysis and I completed this. And not to say that if you're on dialysis, you should do a triathlon, but you sure enough could go out there and walk 30 minutes sometimes. And it may be painful, but you can still do it. Luis and Matt, huge inspiration, because a lot of times people after their post-transplant, you know, they're afraid to do this, they're afraid to do that. You got two guys who just completed a triathlon post-transplant, one of them being 8 months post, so just very recently. And the other guy was probably the most, I don't know how you would say it, the most ripped person post-transplant I've ever seen. Matt Reese, I don't know if you follow him out in Sacramento, he's in the best shape of his life. You know, so both of them pose a real inspiration to our community, to the kidney community. So there's a story there for everybody. So it was very important to us that we finish, number one. Very important that we use this to actually go out there and let as much people know. And now people from the Oakland Triathlon, they're asking, what is Renal Warrior? And a lot of people are beginning to find out what Renal Warrior is, and they're beginning to get more awareness of kidney disease, transplantation, things like that. And then on top of that, we have a bunch of warriors out there. I must have met a handful of people that came up to me and said, oh, I received a transplant, you know, 10, 15 years ago. Other people go, oh, I donated to my brother, I donated to my sister. Being able to meet those people, and some of those people have followed Renal Warrior online. So it was a big thing. You know, it wasn't really a race for me personally. It was just to cross that finish line. And in many ways, it was a lot harder than the Warrior Ride. And in many ways, it was more emotional, and it meant it was an amazing feat. I mean, to ever think that I would become a triathlete was crazy. If you told me this 3 years ago, I go, you are crazy. I would bet $1 million I would never do something like this. And here we are, completing it.
Incredible accomplishment, just within 3 years. And Willson, I mean, your story is so powerful. Speaking about the recent triathlon and the way how you were able to share the mission and involving renal warriors in different capacity who are already received transplant, and a support group, which is so incredibly important to share that message to anyone who's in the early stages of kidney disease and see what they can do, as well as inspiration anyone on dialysis. So from completing triathlon and getting all this feedback and support in the community, what inspires you the most from the way how people responded to your triathlon?
There's so many things, you know, so many different plots within this whole thing. One of the biggest things was just to let other patients know that, hey, you can something, you can still do great things. Don't let this be the end of your life. Don't let dialysis be the end all be all. You can still do so much more, and we just proved that. And the mind is a powerful thing. If you can move 1 inch, you can move a mile. So it doesn't matter how long it takes, but as long as you know you can move forward, you can get to where you need to be. And that was the huge message that we had for patients. That's number one. You know, my personal motivation, inspiration was, I have a lot of little cousins, nephews, nieces, things like that, which looked up to me. And at the time I got sick, I was no longer available to them as much. And that triathlon meant a whole lot to me personally, because some of them were there. And to let them know, to let the younger generation know that, hey, look, you may face tough things, but nothing's impossible if you're willing to move forward. And you know, just one of my really good cousins, he's 15 years old right now, 14 or 15, but I've raised him since he was a kid. I followed him around, and he used to follow me around. And when I got sick, I couldn't do the things that we used to do. Couldn't go out for walks, couldn't take him out or anything like that. And then that day he was there, and he witnessed it, that nothing is impossible. And that's what he told me. He said, after you did that, nothing is impossible. And so to me, that really meant a whole lot to me to be able to leave that to them.
Yeah, that's so amazing. Well, like inspiring younger generation and setting up an example of role model that there are many struggles and difficulties, but you can overcome them.
Yeah, it was, the whole triathlon to me was very, it was almost like my journey. I felt like, we started off, as you know, I was on the way there and I busted a flat tire. The tire just exploded. And
that's harsh.
it was like, great. We just haven't even started yet, trying to get to the race, and the tire exploded. And luckily I had a really good friend that was around the corner that came up to pick me up.
That's awesome. I'm so lucky to be able to.
I was like, thank God that you were close by. But when you got me there, I figured, okay, well, I'm gonna get ready, and he'll fix the bike, and by the time I'm done with the run, the bike will be ready. Unfortunately, there was a time frame. If I didn't get the bike into the area within a certain time, I would be disqualified. And again, it was harsh, it was rough, but luckily there was a bike guy there, and they were able to fix that and get that in time. Now, the other things that we went through is when I went through the swim. I got excited in the beginning, and I went a little too fast, and both my calves started cramping. But again, nothing has been as hard as what we've been through, going through dialysis and seeing our family members go through all this. So I just fought through that and started stretching as I was swimming, and it took me a little while, but I got there. After the bike ride, fine, that went fairly fine, and then on the run, this was my legs were gone. It was done. After the swim, after the bike ride, my legs felt like jello. I was like, oh my gosh, it was very difficult to go, but I just kept on going and going, and I didn't want to stop, because I knew if I stopped, I would get too tired. I just kept on going and going, and I remember it was just getting close to being done. I think it was like mile 4 or 5. That's when I seen you, I seen Tan, and we were just running in. You guys were right beside me, and right there was already a sigh of relief. It was a bit emotional to me, and I just try to suppress that, because the minute I saw you, the whole time I was by myself, running and biking. It was pretty much by myself. Everybody has already past me. And so going this whole distance by myself, I felt just everything in my mind, all this stuff going on. And then the minute I seen you and see Tan, I was like, oh, some relief, and had to suppress those emotions. And then later on, seeing all the wonderful Renal Warrior supporters. So I guess we had maybe 30 people out there, almost at every station. And towards the end, it was just going in and seeing more Renal Warrior supporters as I was running in. It was just a little overwhelming. When we got to the train bridge, where it's the bridge to come over, I seen one of my cousins up top screaming my name, and that's where it was really difficult to try to contain myself. I knew that I was almost finished. And as we were running in, you look, it's fitting of the journey, like going through the busted tire, the calf cramp, the legs feeling like jello. But the whole time when I got close, and when you and Tan were next to me, it was just, I keep on preaching one step at a time. I tell everybody, it doesn't matter if you need to go 10,000 miles, how do you get there? One step at a time. And I kept telling myself, one step at a time, one step at a time. Didn't matter how fast I was going, just one step at a time, one foot in front of the other. Kept on going. And when we got about maybe a few, like 100 or 200 yards away from the finish line, I can see everybody surrounding me and just walking in with me, a picture of that. And I go, this is how this journey has been. I've been very blessed, very fortunate to have all the people in my life and to come in with me through close to this finish line. And it's like almost everybody supporting. So it's a very powerful picture. But when I got past that finish line, I lost it. It was a very emotional moment, and it gives me chills just still thinking about it. I crossed that line.
Incredible. Yeah, thanks for sharing those reflections. And Wilson, I mean, first of all, you did the Olympic distance of the triathlon, to acknowledge this part, and it's incredibly straining and challenging race for even triathlon athletes. So that was a very big milestone, and you accomplished and you completed it. You also mentioned you didn't swim at the beginning of the year, and you were, yeah, I mean, it's just impossible. Like for many people, there is just, it's impossible imagining someone who's adult triathlon swimming and competing.
I wasn't the fastest swimmer. I was probably one of the slowest swimmers, but it's okay. I still swam it.
I mean, it's amazing. But how did it, so you walk us through each of the parts of the race and that emotional strength you have to build, and then how things evolve. But before you started the race, and were you just at the beginning, the starting line, what are your feelings at?
Yeah, you know, like in all honesty, there was no doubt of me finishing the race. The only thing I was worried about is maybe not finishing in time, where they'll disqualify me. I don't even know if there was a time limit, but there was no doubt I was going to finish it no matter what. I thought there was too much at stake. It meant too much. I was just telling myself, if we can just get this thing done, we have proven that to other patients that this can be done, that you can still do it. You know, I talk a lot before about, you know, like the bike ride, which was okay. The warrior ride was fine, but it was all spread over 2 weeks, and that was that. And
it was huge. You're kidding me? It was insane. We need another episode to see that.
So this was like all packed in one day. And yeah. So it, you know, with the warrior ride, it was like cardio. It just constantly, you keep a pace, you keep a rhythm, and you just make it through. It's a long time. This was just, you know, you swim, get out the water, hop on the bike, sprint this distance, 25 miles, boom. After that, you got to run. So there was no, on the warrior ride, when I was hungry, I stopped and I ate. When I was thirsty, if I was out of fluids, I stopped and I drank. And if I was really tired after a climb, I would stop and I would just continue on. This was just like, there's no time to stop, no time to think. You got to go. Once you're out of the water, it's time to bike. Once you bike, it's time to run, and you can't stop. Because the minute that you stop, you get a lot more tired. And so many, so many times I was running through Lake Merritt and through Oakland, where I felt like, gosh, what if I just laid down here in the shade for 15 minutes? Nobody would ever know. But, you know, couldn't do that. You just got to keep on going. So, you know, I felt like there was a lot at stake, and a lot of that helped me continue to move forward, knowing that if we were to complete this, that, you know, it would mean a lot to our community, our kidney community, especially.
Just another part, like I'm just picking up from your previous phrases. You mentioned that, you mentioned while you were doing the race, you kind of were seeing yourself and your life through this triathlon race.
Yes.
Do you feel something similar, being a kidney patient, ESRD patient? That's how you have to deal in your life, that there is no way to stop and think, like you constantly have to be moving toward improving to be right. Able to succeed as a renal patient. Is there some analogy you want to share and reflections in that?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I feel that, and we talk about this all the time when we do some of our programs, is number one, you have to know where you're going. You have to set some goals, and you have to constantly move forward to that. And that's what the whole triathlon, that's what it felt like. It didn't matter how fast, how slow you were going, you always had to continue to move forward. Actually, one thing that you just brought up that triggered something was towards the end of it, when I had all those people surrounding me, and I started seeing my family and seeing everybody, and seeing all my friends and supporters running in with me. I relived everything. I relived the time that I got diagnosed. I felt it. I relived the time where I was in the hospital, where my mom was struggling back and forth between rooms, between my dad and I, everything that was going on at home, starting dialysis, how I felt. being extremely depressed because of all of this, asking myself if I was going to continue to move on or choose to fight. And I chose to fight. Going on all those walks, all those times, using a Fitbit, just everything, joining the gym, joining CrossFit, doing the bike, everything, just every single moment just flashed before my eyes. And I just kept on thinking about that. And that's where all the emotion just came up. And it still gives me chills right now thinking about it. It's just that, you know, I was at a point where I couldn't walk. I was at a point where I didn't even know if I was going to survive through the night. I was ready to just give up this fight. And here we are, just fast forward, boom, here I am in the middle of this run, almost finishing. And that right there is to me was just, you know, it's such a powerful moment where that's why it was so hard to suppress all the emotions, just thinking about all that. You know, it was so difficult. How could it have been not too long ago? How could it have been so difficult? And just to let everybody know that's listening to this, it could be so difficult. It could be you could be on the brink of death, not knowing if anything's going to happen, not knowing if you're going to be alive. But if you choose to, if you continue to move forward one step at a time, soon you'll look back and you're doing something equivalent to the triathlon. You know, you're reaching your goals or being at where you need to be. But you will get out of it. That's my message. You will get out of there. The sun will always come up. You're not going to be in that bad place forever.
Amazing. I mean, it's so powerful. And what's your superpower? Doing all that.
Just wake up and do the work. Put in the work. You got to put in the work. So.
Amazing. So I want to also congratulate you on another incredible accomplishment this year, opening the Mission HQ. So I think there is, you know, the big part that those things, completing triathlon and opening the Mission HQ kind of happened simultaneously. So what's your inspiration and what was your goal setting up actually the physical place for strength building and supporting renal community as well as the community in general?
Right. So the Mission HQ is a gym here in Alameda, California, where I'm from, and it's pretty much a gym. We have classes over here that is a boot camp centered around boxing. That is by day. Before work and after work, typically we have classes, paid members, things like that. But one of the reasons why the gym has been opened is that we also have classes where people who are chronically ill, maybe severely obese, recovering from a chronic illness like cancer, kidney disease, things like that, they're able to come here and get better for free. The goal and the hopes is that there's going to be a 1,000, 1,000,000 renal warrior stories that come out of this gym. Now, one of the reasons why the gym was opened was because when I was diagnosed and the doctor said, hey, look, you're going to go dialysis, you need to lose 100 pounds, you won't qualify for transplant. And at that point, it was, I couldn't walk, but you still expect me to do this and do that. But, you know, once I made that decision, I started that 10-feet walk, like I was saying in the beginning. I was afraid to join the gym. I didn't want to join a gym because I didn't want to ask a stupid question. I was ashamed. I used to go, when I did start going to the gym, I used to go at 4 in the morning, 5 in the morning, so nobody was there. That way I won't be embarrassed, that people can see how weak I am or how frail I am or what I'm doing. And, you know, it wasn't until I got with a trainer and I talked to the trainer and the trainer coached me through all of this stuff. But I could really see how somebody would quit. I was stubborn, but I can imagine for me being stubborn, for everybody, one person being stubborn, there's going to be 100 people that quit or doesn't even want to try because they are so weak from dialysis or they've stayed home for too long that they are afraid to go out. They don't want to see people. They don't want to see people to see them sick. They don't want people to know that they're in dialysis, so they never even start. So, you know, the other thing is that when I was training was I used to talk to the trainer and go, You've been fit all your life. You don't know how I feel. I'm a big guy. I was 300 plus pounds and I have kidney disease. I'm on dialysis. You don't understand how weak I am. So don't tell me what to do and what to eat. You have no idea. Um, and so a lot of people feel that way. So one of the reasons why we opened up this place was that people can come here and people can know that this is a safe place for them. If they think that it's difficult, they can see the Warrior story and they know that we've been through it, that I've been through it. So they know that this is a safe place for them. Nobody's judging them here. And you can come here, you can get better. And there's actually, as a matter of fact, the my first trainer, I had two trainers, two very important trainers in my life. The first trainer that coached me through this all in the beginning, she's working here now. And she is the one actually leading that class for the chronically ill. And then after I got stronger, I started training with Evander, my boxing coach, who been personally training me for the past couple of years. It got me up to the point where I was able to do the Warrior Ride, this triathlon, and he's here teaching the classes as well. So this is a place. Our mission is to help out the people that need it the most, and they need a safe place. They need to know that somebody understands how they feel, what they're going through. I certainly understand what they're going through. I understand the pain that they've gone through. So I just want to, that we wanted a safe place for them to be able to come here and to be able to do that. And on top of that, a lot of times kidney disease, for one reason or another, it does hurt a lot of the marginalized communities that are lower income sometimes, and it may be difficult to pay for certain things. So that's why those classes come free of charge.
Yeah, I think it just so resonated with the name that you have for the Mission HQ. You certainly have a mission.
Well,
and
everything that we've done up to this point, surviving, that was a mission. Losing the weight, that was a mission. The Warrior Ride, that was another mission. Triathlon, that's another mission. That's why we call this place the mission headquarters. So this is, everything here is a mission. Everybody that's here has a mission. And so as long as the trainers, the people, I tell everybody about it, as long as it aligns with our mission, then we'll welcome them here.
So you've been streaming some of the achievements, some of the classes from the mission headquarters. What are the hashtags? What are the accounts some of our audience can follow and they can see what's really happening?
Yes, so if you just hashtag the Mission HQ or the Mission Headquarters, hashtag the Mission HQ, you'll find all the posting. On Facebook, it's at the Mission HQ. On Instagram, it's at the Mission HQ Fitness. But we're still relatively new, so there's some posts on there, but we're trying to get the word out. We're still working on a few things here, some remodeling and things like that. And as soon as all that goes up, then we'll be able to market a whole lot more and get more patients in here.
There is certainly a large community of patients out there, and the support system. And this mission, opening place like this, I'm sure resonates with everyone who listening to this podcast today. What can our audience to do to help you guys or support you? In which capacity we can engage the audience of this podcast to be able to follow or participate in some kind of support?
Would love that people start sharing the mission, post their mission, hashtagging the Mission HQ, and just talking about our place, and just let other people know there is a safe place that they can come and they can transform, they can get better, and that they can get stronger. There's a place here in Alameda, California that they can do that. And if anybody that is listening to the podcast right now, if you're a kidney patient, if you're a warrior, if you're a renal warrior as well, and you're from outside the state, outside the country, but you're here, happen to be here in the Bay Area, come on in. This place is for you as well. You're more than welcome to come in here. And then, this is far-fetched down the road, down the line, but if we're able to come up with a good system, maybe we can expand. I would love for us to be able to tell, again, 1,000, a million renal warrior stories. That way we can inspire a whole community of people that needs that inspiration. Share the story, talk about the story, because we never know. One person that hears it, it may change their life. We may create another triathlete. We may create another renal warrior, and they will inspire thousands. They will inspire so many people. Um, I was in the hospital when I was first diagnosed, and the nurse was saying you have to pick between PD or in-clinic hemodialysis, either put a fistula or a catheter. And I was in there just crying, not knowing what's going on. Just, why are you telling me to do this? I'm going to go ahead and try to make the transformation. I don't want to start dialysis. And I was looking through Google, Facebook, like who's on dialysis and who's made a transformation, and I couldn't find anybody. Everybody was post-transplant. Oh, post-transplant doing bike rides, post-transplant doing triathlon, post-transplant doing marathon. Who's on dialysis doing this? Who's on dialysis? Who's lost the weight so I can try to follow their routine and regimen? And I just couldn't find anything. And so now we try to share the story as much as we can. So the next time somebody's in the nurse's office that's saying this, they're gonna go, I'm gonna go look for this person, and they're gonna find Renal Warrior. They're gonna go, look, Renal Warrior lost the weight while he was on dialysis. I'm gonna see what he does. And they're gonna reach out, and we're gonna tell them how we did what we did to get to where we're at. And so that's what I was looking for when I was diagnosed. And so I wanted to be able to give that back. And now that we've created that, it's I'm hoping and I'm praying that people will find the page, especially the ones that need it.
That's incredible, right? Finding the role models and just know that that's not the limit. And dialysis itself, in your beginning, if someone wants to put effort, and they have to put effort because there is a great life managing your health and then preparing your body for the transformation and then transplant. So Willson, I really want to make sure in today's podcast, we also cover another part of the triathlon. And it was also the mission to share the strengths of patients on dialysis, patient post-transplant, but also share the mission of organ donation and kidney organ transplantation, because very often people even not aware, who's outside of the kidney community, that there is a high demand of the organ transplantation from the live donors and all these different opportunities, how other people can help patients in need. So could you share your vision, where things are with the organ transplantation, and what kind of messages we have to be sharing in our community to bring us to general public in understanding where people at and how they can participate and support kidney patients?
All right. So, first things first, let me throw out some very important facts about kidney disease and transplantation. And this is when people ask me about kidney disease, I spit out these facts. And some of the facts are this, is that we have over 30 million people right now in the United States affected. That's about 10% of the people affected in the United States. 90% of those people that are affected by kidney disease do not know that they have it. 90%. And a lot of people crash into dialysis like myself, not knowing what's going on. They maybe have some symptoms like flu or something happens. They go to the hospital and the doctor says, you have kidney failure, time for you to go dialysis. And so that's one of the facts. The other one is this. It's the 9th leading cause of death in the United States, more so than breast cancer, prostate cancer combined. A lot of people dying from this. So that's very important to understand. Some other facts is that you're looking at, I believe the last stat was almost 120,000 people waiting for organ donation. And the majority of that are kidneys. And last year, only, I believe, 17 or 18,000 kidneys were transplanted. Depending on where you're at in the country, the weight could vary. Right now, my weight can be anywhere between 7 to 10 years. There is, I don't know the exact number, but quite a few people die. I think a few people die every day waiting on a kidney transplant. So it's, being that some of the wait periods are 7 to 10 years, but sometimes the average lifespan is anywhere between 5 to 7 years. It's damaging to a lot of people. And you're looking at most donors, huge majority of the donors, you talk to any transplant team, live a perfectly fine, beautiful whole life without having any issues at all. So I think more awareness needs to be made that transplantation is highly effective. It's also very safe, and you can save somebody else's life. So those are just the main facts of the basic awareness of it all. What we're trying to do is, a lot of times, if you're looking just for a kidney, if you're trying to spread awareness, it falls on deaf ears. People don't really listen. They go, okay, yeah, whatever. But hopefully that's why we were doing the triathlon. We're doing Renal Warrior. We teamed up with a bunch of other people so that we can do some things so that people can pay attention. And when they pay attention, then we can spit out these facts to them. And hopefully it just starts by one person. If you can change one person's mind and talk to one person, they will talk to another person. And hopefully so on and so forth. And until one day, we don't need to talk about it anymore. Maybe one day everybody will know about it. So.
Yeah, that's really great. And what's really makes me incredibly excited? The recent new initiatives for advancing American kidney care, where they bring in more programs, bring more efficiency to organ transplantation, as well as all other initiatives that would support more financial burden of surgeries, stymies that work, and support of organ donors. So all of this are really good steps in increasing the participation of people to learn at least about this, to share the message, and eventually understand if this could be some option for their family. We spoke with a number of organ donors in our previous podcast with Jen. We spoke with another organ donor, Catherine, and the kidney disease in kidney organ donors almost doesn't exist. It's something more than 0.5%, because when someone decides to donate, it doesn't mean they can donate. They actually go through the rigorous tests, and they have to be as strong, as healthy as a human could be. So certainly this is a big part of just making sure that the person usually who donates organ, they don't have any risks. And that's why this is another proof that this process is so well developed that it certainly wouldn't risk the health of anyone. But I was just impressed that usually people who have donation of kidney, they have healthy life afterwards because they are selected, because they have that excellent health that couldn't be compromised after organ donation. So that was good to know fact.
Right. Yeah, it's a huge thing. I mean, we have to do our part, and again, it just starts off with just one person. If we can influence one or two people, they're going to influence one or two people as well, and hopefully we can change the world on that.
So one of the things, I think many people who been crushed to dialysis and haven't had enough time to really understand the applications of dialysis or transplant, they discover a lot of things in process. It's kind of everything shocking, and they have to kind of take one day at a time and understand that there is way to get transplant even before getting on dialysis. But if someone already on dialysis, to be able to get a transplant, people need to remain in a good health to be able to take the organs that will be at some point they will receive through the wait list, or maybe some other donors would be willing to donate earlier. In that regard, you mentioned that when you were crushed into dialysis, to be able to get a transplant, you would need to lose weight and you would need to qualify. Can you tell more about that preparation and mindset, like knowing that to be able to be there, you need to be qualified. What are the qualification to receive transplant, and are you already qualified for those?
Yes, I got qualified January 2018 last year. But I mean, there's so many factors that come into play to be able to qualify for a transplant. If you're on dialysis, you're looking at your weight has to be in order, your vitals, your lab results, your blood pressure. There's a whole bunch of other things, and what they really look at is they look at your survivability. Will you be able to survive a transplant? And if you're able to survive, if you can check off all the boxes, then yes, they'll go ahead and allow you to do it. But if not, they're going to require you to go ahead and fix whatever issue that is. So it's very important to stay on top of your weight, your health, your exercise, your diet, your regimen, things like that. Just because, and then on top of that is, even if they allow you to have the transplant, you want to be able to recover from that as quickly as possible. And being in good shape or decent shape is going to it's going to help you recover from that a lot faster.
Yeah. So for you, you mentioned that it took some time to be able to get qualified, but then for the patients who might be listening to us now and they just in process trying to lose weight and get their vitals within norm, what would be your recommendation? What should they do and where they should start?
Don't look too much at the bigger goal. Don't focus in. If you need to lose 100 pounds, 200 pounds, don't say, gosh, every day you're thinking about 100 pounds or 200 pounds. Don't do that. What I would really do is break it down into a week by week thing. If you want to lose, say 52 pounds, then it's 1 pound a week will get you to 52 pounds. So don't look at the 52 pounds, but what you focus in on is 1 pound every week. And that way you're taking little bites. When you're taking little bites, it's okay. You can get to where you need to be. And all of a sudden you look back, it's been 6 months. And then later on, all of a sudden you look back, it's 9 months. And all of a sudden you look back, it's 12 months. And there, boom, you hit your mark. But the thing is that when in the middle of your transition, while you're doing the 1 pound, if you're thinking about 52 pounds, it's just such a big number that you might give up. So my advice to everybody is break down your goals, know where you're going to go, and then break it down week after week after week. And when you bite it like that, and when you tackle it that way, things become a little bit easier, and things are much more attainable. That's my number one advice. Week after week.
That's awesome. So Willson, with number of programs that you're managing and all the initiatives you have on your busy life, what are the next steps? What should we be expecting from Willson in this year and upcoming year?
Well, right now it looks like the Mission HQ is going to be taking up my time for the time being, so I'll be out here quite a bit. But as far as physically competing and things, I might take a little bit of a break. I've been training for something for the past couple of years. Right now, it's just focusing on two things. Is number one, finding a kidney. The other part is just to help as many people as I can. So we're probably going to be spending the next few months, if not the next year, just trying to see if we can get as many patients together and getting the patients over here to the Mission HQ so we can work together. And then on top of that, just work with a bunch of other patients online, social media, things like that, to try to raise more awareness and just fight this horrible, horrible disease.
Yeah, thank you so much for putting all this effort. And it's incredible to see role models like yourself in the renal community who make such a big difference. And we'll make sure after posting this podcast, share the Q&A. So then any listeners, they can have questions and then you can individually answer their questions or requests.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, I'm always reachable. Anybody can reach out to me via social media. I try to answer everybody. But together we can all do this. And thank you very much for all of your love, all of your support. It's been wonderful having you there as together as working together as psychics. So
I mean, thank you. And it's very mutual. You just give me so much motivation, encouragement, and incredible ambition. I'm so proud of all your accomplishments and more to come.
More to come. That's right.
Amazing. So good to catch up with you, Wilson. Oh, good luck with the Mission HQ. And I hope talking with you about the next expansion plan very soon.
Very soon. All right.
Thanks so much.